If you visit France in the winter, you must have winter tyres. Well, yes, but also no. There's been a lot of talk over the past few days about the new France winter tyre law, as it's been dubbed. Except that it's not really just about winter tyres. There's a lot more to it than that, and there's been a lot of information being shared all over the place, some of which is true and some of which is not. So I thought I would break it all down for you so you knew exactly where you stand, what the law involves and what you need to do to comply. And stay till the end because I'm going to be sharing some photos of an awesome campsite that we found just south of Biarritz, right on the Atlantic coast, with amazing views out over the sea. It was stunning. So I'm excited to share that with you. You'll find all the details for that at the end. Hey, I'm Kat and welcome to Wandering Bird. 3 years ago, I quit my job to tour Europe in a motorhome. Let's just not talk about 2020. And on this channel, we share tips and tricks to help motorhomers and campervanners do the same. So if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more. Right, let's dive into the new France winter law, as we're going to call it. I'm not entirely sure what the official name of it is, but the law that France brought into effect on the 1st of November 2021, so a couple of days ago. First of all, let's talk about what the law actually is for and why they brought it in. Every winter, all over the mountainous regions in France, and there are more than just the Alps and the Pyrenees, countless vehicles get stuck, cause chaos, block roads because they're not equipped with the right tyres or tyre equipment to get through the snow and the treacherous conditions that occur in the mountains in the middle of winter. So what France have done is, instead of just having roads where there was a B26 sign, in fact there still is a B26 sign, which basically meant that when those roads were covered in snow, you had to have your snow chains or studded tyres on. The problem is that people were going up the mountains and it was perfectly fine and there was no snow on the ground or very little. And then the weather was worsening when they were up there, and then they were getting stuck and they weren't properly equipped. So what they've now done is they have changed the law so that from the 1st of November till the 31st of March every year, not just this year, every year you have to have the proper equipment on your vehicle, and this is for every 4-wheel or more vehicles. But you have to have the proper equipment on these specific roads no matter what the weather's doing. So even if it's a beautiful sunny heat wave in the middle of November, but go with me, you still have to have the appropriate equipment. So that's why they've changed the law. So let's talk about where this law actually comes into effect. Obviously it affects mountainous regions or areas where the roads get treacherous in the winter. Now, not every road in every region, and there are currently 48 regions across France, or departments as they call them, across France, but who knows whether that will grow or not in the future. But not every single road in every single one of those departments is affected. So the local councils and prefectures are having to select which ones of these roads you have to have the special equipment in order to travel down it between November and March. And if you'd like to see a map of the regions which are currently involved, then you can find that on the Wandering Bird website. I've done a post on this, it's got the map on there. I'll put the link for that in the notes for you so you can see exactly which regions are affected. But what the local prefectures are doing is they are selecting the roads, and then what they're doing is they are putting the signs up that show you that to travel down those roads between November and March, you have to have the special winter equipment. So the signs look like this. Well, this is what shows you that you're going down a road that's affected during November and March. And obviously outside of those times, you can just ignore the signs. And then this shows you that you're leaving that road or that zone so you can travel it without the special equipment. Whether or not you choose to is totally up to you. So let's talk about exactly what you need. There are basically 3 options that you've got to be able to travel down one of those designated roads between November and March. You either need to have proper winter tyres fitted, and for them to be approved winter tyres, they have to have the little mountain sign on them. And there are also types of tyres, I'm not a tyre expert, but there are types of tyres that either have MS or M and S. Don't ask me what the M and the S stands for, I'm afraid I don't know. But if you don't have one of those 3 things on them, they're not proper winter tyres. You can have all season tyres, but in order for them to be relevant, unless they've got the little mountains on them, you would have to carry snow chains or snow socks as well. We're going to get into that very shortly. So that's option 1, is to fit proper winter tyres to your vehicle before you travel down any of these roads. Option 2 is to keep using your normal tyres, and we will discuss that shortly as well. Keep using your normal tyres and then have snow chains ready to be fitted on those certain roads. Make sure that you don't make the mistake that we did. We bought snow chains that we thought were the right fit, but actually, as it turns out, they weren't. I don't know whether they sent us the wrong one or we'd ordered the wrong one by accident. But either way, we thought that they would fit and they didn't. And we hadn't tried them. Now, luckily, when we got to the mountains, the weather was actually fine. All the roads had been cleared, but we were very lucky. If we had needed to fit them, we would have been absolutely stuffed because we hadn't tried them, because they didn't arrive till the day we were leaving. It was just a disaster. Anyway, make sure that you don't do that. Make sure that if you have snow chains, that you fitted them to your tyres, you know how to fit them, because they are quite complicated. Certainly if you've never looked before, you sort of take them all out and they're all a bit of a mess. But yeah, so make sure that you know how to fit them, because you will have to go into a certain area and there'll be lots of people looking at you and judging you. So make sure that you know how they all work. If you don't want to use snow chains, you can use something called snow socks, which are A, cheaper, and B, a heck of a lot easier to fit. However, snow socks are not designed for long use. They are literally designed to get you out of trouble. They're not, but they're almost like mud mats just kind of wrapped around your tyres to get you off sticky situations. They're not designed to be driven on for miles and miles and miles, and they're certainly not designed for really long-term use if you were going to go away for a couple of months and go motorhome skiing. If you're going to do that or going to use them a lot, you're going to want proper snow chains and invest in snow chains. But if you are just going for a quick trip and you don't think you're going to be using them very much, or if you're just driving through an area if you're heading south to Spain for the winter and you just want to go through for a quick trip, you might want to use snow socks. Again, I would always choose snow chains because they are better, especially in a big vehicle like a motorhome, but that's entirely up to you. Either one of those are allowed under the law. The third option is for you to fit studded tyres. If you have studded tyres, you don't need any of the other. You don't need winter tyres, or I suppose technically they are winter tyres, but they do differentiate it in the law. If you have studded tyres, the other two options are null and void. You don't need them all. So let's talk about winter tyres. If you are planning on heading to a mountainous region in the winter, especially in a big vehicle like a motorhome or even a campervan, I really strongly recommend that you get proper tyres fitted. If you don't want to do full-on winter tyres, then go for good all-season tyres, and that will cover you all year. That's what we've chosen to fit on our van, so we have winter tyres and we carry the snow chains as well. If you're going down the winter tyre route, so you're going to be fitting proper tyres, you have to fit them to, and bear with me while I read this, you have to fit them to at least 2 steered wheels and 2 driving wheels. So if you've only got 4 wheels on your van or car or motorhome, then all 4 tyres must be winter tyres. If you've got a double axle at the back, if you've got a really big vehicle, then you only need to do 2 driving wheels and 2 steered wheels. Personally, I'd fit them to all, but that's up to you. What the law says is 2 and 2, so 4 minimum. If you go down the snow chain route or the snow socks, you have to have 2 that you fit to the driving wheels so that they help you with traction. Now, there is a definition in the law about heavy vehicles, and I would suggest a motorhome over 3.5 tonne probably counts as a heavy vehicle. So in that case, you have a choice again between the snow chains and the tyres. But if you're pulling a trailer, you have to have snow chains for the 2 driving wheels and winter tyres fitted. So you've got to have both if you're a heavy vehicle pulling a trailer. They make that really clear in the law. One thing to note is that there are still going to be roads where these B26, which is basically the wheel with the snow chain around it, these B26 signs are still in force. And what those signs mean is that you must fit your snow chains even outside of November to March if there is snow on the road. So there could still be instances when, say, either very late in October or early in April, where there's still snow on the road or snow is falling and you must have snow chains to be fitted. Now, most of those roads are really, really high up in the mountain. And again, I would suggest if you're heading to the mountains at that sort of time of year, you would be properly equipped because you would expect either early or late snowfall. But just wanted to point out that those roads will still exist. It's not just November to March. Now, 2 things to bear in mind. If you are heading down to Spain for some winter sunshine, obviously you're going to be driving through the Pyrenees. There are routes that take you sort of skirting the Pyrenees, where you're not going to be going right up into the mountains. For example, where we went the other day, we're down on the Atlantic coast, we went down to Biarritz and we went straight down on that main road towards San Sebastian. That is a really low mountainous road. However, it is still part of the Pyrenees. If you are skirting down that way and not really going up into the mountains, you could definitely get away with just popping some snow socks into your van and driving down there. Now, unless you're really, really unlucky and happen to hit during a snowstorm, those roads are big roads and they're generally kept clear. And I believe the one on the east side as well near Perpignan is similar, but we haven't done that for a really long time. So I don't know exactly how mountainous or how cleared that one is, but certainly the one down the west coast all the way down to Spain or Portugal if you're heading that way, it's really big and it is kept very clear. So you probably don't need, if you're just going back and forth, you don't need to invest in full-on winter tyres or even snow chains if you don't want to. But you do, because you are crossing technically the Pyrenees, have to have something in your van to comply with this law. If you don't have something in your van to comply with this law, you can be stopped, you can be fined up to 135 euros, and also your van can be impounded. So I would suggest you have something. However, and this is the best bit about the entire law. So they kind of brought it in, and they brought it in typical French fashion, a bit like the blind spot stickers. It was kind of out there, but it wasn't really out there, and they certainly weren't, you know, blowing trumpets to tell everybody about it. It's sort of softly, gently coming into effect. So they've sort of told people for the last few months that this was coming in from the 1st of November this year, 2021, and is going to run till the 31st of March 2022. But this year, they can't fine you. There are no fines, there are no repercussions, there are no nothing. Now, again, common sense would dictate if you're heading to a mountainous region in winter, you're properly equipped. But the law isn't going to be enforced. Just why? I don't get it, but hey, I don't make the laws. But yeah, they're very clear on their website that it will not be enforced until November 2022. But hey, so if you are popping down to Spain this year, I suppose you don't have to really do anything. But again, I would just pop in some snow socks and that way you're covered should you be stopped for any reason. And also, if the weather gets horrendously bad, you know that you can handle it. So let's talk about our campsite. We spent a few days down on the Biarritz coast like 2 weeks ago. The weather was stunning. It was just beautiful. And we found this fantastic campsite called Camping Le Bord de Mer. And literally, Le Bord de Mer, it's right on the seafront. It's kind of slightly up a cliff, so you've got elevated views. Half of the pitches have got really nice views out over the sea. Some of them are hidden by a hedge and then some of them are slightly lower down, so you haven't got the amazing views from every single pitch. But you are a 5-minute walk from the beach. It was stunning. It was just beautiful. And it was really, really quiet. We were there, it was the last week in October. And it was just lovely, but it was so busy, so many people there, and there were people there from obviously France, from Spain, from Belgium, from Holland, from the UK. We met a couple of people from the UK, and the beach there, it was just full of surfers and people wanting to play. Now the beach didn't allow dogs, which is a bit frustrating. If you did want a good beach for the dog, we took them on the back of the motorbikes, which was hilarious, about half an hour further south to the very, very last town right before the Spanish border. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. I'll put it on the screen for you. And that beach there was beautiful. It had a lovely little cafe. It was about half an hour drive from the campsite, and the dogs were allowed to play. So he spent about half an hour absolutely loving life, throwing sticks and stuff and chasing them into the water. He was having a brilliant time. And also the surf wasn't quite as bad on that beach. I wasn't too worried about him going in the sea. Except then we had to put him back on the back of the motorbike. He was soaked. We hadn't brought a towel because we hadn't actually planned to stop at that beach until we realised that dogs were allowed. So yeah, then we had to go on the back and he was a bit wet and dishevelled, which wasn't so good, but that was a fantastic beach. But the campsite was lovely, and it had a bar just at the end, which was open on, I want to say the Friday and Saturday night. It wasn't open during the week because obviously it was out of high season now. There was also a pizzeria just across the way, which smelled amazing. We didn't try it sadly, but it smelled absolutely fantastic. There was this brilliant stretch of car park and everything. There was also a site on the other side there called Camping Paradis. And next time, if we go back to the same place, we might try that one, because one of the problems that we found with Le Bord de Mer was that we had a trailer, and getting up that little hill bit so that you had the elevated view with a trailer was tough because it was a really tight turn, and yeah, no, it didn't work particularly well. So if you've got a trailer, you might want to try Camping Paradis, which was down, I believe that shut at the end of October as well. So I don't think either of them are open all year. But If you want to do surfing or you just want to be by the sea, yeah, it was fantastic. So you might want to add that to your road trip whenever you're next planning to go to France. Well, probably in the summer, because again, not open during the winter. Right, I hope that cleared up the new France motorhoming law for you. If you have got any questions, by all means, please drop them below and I'll do my best to answer them for you. If you are travelling to France or indeed anywhere in Europe, don't forget to grab your free Europe motorhoming checklist, which tells you everything that you need to take and bring with you. I'll leave the link in the notes. And you might find watching this video useful to help you planning your trip. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you on the next video.